6:15.
Hold on, Juan.
Notice the meeting Thursday, December 29th, 6:15. The Charter Commission of the City of Cotulla will meet on Thursday, December 29th, 2022 at 6:15, City Hall, 202 South Main Street, Cotulla. This is an open meeting subject to the open meeting laws of the state of Texas. Stuff about the city council possible quorum. The meeting is called to order. We will have the roll call now. I've got the list of the members. Let's see. I'm here. Pablo is missing. Ty is missing. Juan's here. Elsa is missing. Noe is here, and Ricky is here. Do we have to vote on that now?
So yes, what you're gonna do is you're gonna, if Bianca has an excuse for them, she'll let you know the excuse. You have to make a vote on it and excuse them as the board.
Yeah, we're supposed to be here unless we got an excuse.
So 3 consecutive missed meetings, the board members can actually vote the person to vote.
Who's missed 3?
I don't know that anybody.
No,
has.
nobody.
We haven't had that
Yeah,
chance.
this is our third one.
Mr. Chairman, I move to excuse the members absent today.
I second.
Motion made and seconded to excuse the absentees. Excuse them. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Missing members are excused. Okay, and we do have a quorum. Pledge of allegiance to the United States flag. Here. Stand. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now we come to the swearing in of the remaining commission members. I don't get to do it, but I think Bianca will swear you in.
I'm gonna give you these so you can kind of go on.
My glasses. Okay.
And then they're in order, so I'm gonna do that one first and then we're going to the next one.
Okay.
So raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name,
I, Richard Maldonado,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I have not directly or indirectly
that I have not directly or indirectly
paid, offered, promised to pay,
paid, offered, promised to pay,
contributed or promised to contribute
contributed, or promised to contribute
any money or thing of value,
any money or thing of value,
or promised any public office or employment
or promised any public office or employment
for the giving or withholding of a vote
for the giving or withholding of a vote
at the election at which I was elected,
at the election at which I was elected,
or as a reward to secure my appointment or confirmation,
or as a reward to secure my appointment or confirmation,
whichever the case may be,
whichever the case may be.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Next page. And raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name,
I, Richard Maldonado,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute the duties
that I will faithfully execute the duties
of the office of City of Cotulla Charter Commission
of the office of City of Cotulla Charter Commission
of the State of Texas,
of the State of Texas,
and will to the best of my ability
and will to the best of my ability
preserve, protect, and defend
preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution and laws of the United States
the Constitution and laws of the United States
and of this state, so help me God.
and of this state, so help me God.
Want to sign this for me?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Too late to get out now. Okay, we are down to number 5, approval of the minutes for the meeting held on Thursday, December 15th.
So move to approve the
Do you
minutes.
have
Mr. Chairman.
minutes in your hand?
I have read it.
I'll second that motion, sir.
Got a motion made and seconded to approve the minutes from December 15th. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion passes. Okay, thank you. Now we are down to number 6, the workshop meeting. Charter Commission will conduct a workshop meeting to discuss and work on the proposed home rule charter for the city of Cotulla. Charter Commission will accept public input and provide an opportunity for citizens attending the meeting to be heard. At this time, I do not see any citizens here to hear out, but if they come, we'll hear them out when they get here. That does leave this time for us to discuss whatever we want to discuss on our questions and comments. One thing as I was going over the proposed charter draft is I thought it'd be a good idea if we talked amongst ourselves whether this is even a good, worthwhile endeavor. You know, what are your feelings on it?
Well, Mr. Page, I'll start off since I'm the new guy. Sure. That way you all can school me if I'm missing anything or since I've been out of the loop. But I think it's a good idea. When I got called, I didn't know what had brought it on initially, so I was kind of skeptical. But once I heard and then affirmed through Mr. Page of what exactly the intentions are. Yeah, I mean the city I think could really use that boost in funds. One of the concerns that I've always had is a lack of law enforcement in the city. We keep relying on the county for their deputies, and it's not always the way to go. I know we have a border patrol station that always acts as a secondary line. Obviously, from what I understand, a lot of them don't even work here anymore. They're working the border in Laredo. So now what? Where's that second line at? That could easily be replaced by a police department within the city. So, and I'm sure there's a lot of things that off the top of my, I can't, I'm not going to be able to bring up, but I think safety and security is a major issue considering, what's transpired, lately in the state with Uvalde and those. And you're talking about a city where one shooter, we saw what happened, hundreds of police officers, and he still managed to kill 20 people. So when that intent is there, it can be done, and we just don't have the people and the resources currently to even try to prevent something like that from happening at any establishment. So yeah, I think it's a good idea, and then right off the bat, I think that's somewhere we would have to move forward on after this. I think.
Oh, and this is why we're having the discussion now, which is good point.
So.
You got any thoughts?
No, I'm for. I think that's something as we move on and time passes. I mean, this is something that we need to look into, and not necessarily us, other people, other citizens down the road, and look and make amendments, changes, because like I said at the past meeting, I mean the winds of change, from one year to the next. So it's always good to kind of look into and see where we're at and where we're going, because we all want progress. We all want the city to be successful and succeed and provide a quality of life for all our fellow citizens.
Absolutely.
I think the community, the city has a lot of projects that need to be either improved or maybe implemented. And I think it's important that if there's other fundings that are coming in, such as these, then we can utilize those to improve what we have, or even try to get other projects in the city. I just don't know whether these funds will be allocated and designated to a specific project or what have you. I don't know if maybe we need to ask someone in regards to that, because is it designated just for a specific project, or is it going to be utilized to improve the city in general, per se?
It would be utilized for citywide services and capital improvements.
That is
Another-
beyond the scope of our
Yeah.
study.
Yeah,
That's,
correct. Another thing that there's a possibility that, you know, I think our tax base, property tax base for Cotulla is probably around $110 million. So I think, or actually, I'm sorry, it's 250 million, and we get about 1.1 million dollars a year in tax revenues from property tax. And if the ETJ is extended, then the actual property tax that we bring in will double. It'll double the income for the city on property tax. At that point, there can be a decision made to improve infrastructure, improve roads, or give a property tax break to the citizens of Cotulla. Right now, the city, these companies are using our resources, they're using our roads, and you're paying for it. So we want to switch that and have them actually be accountable for what they're doing in our county and our city. And that's really what we're looking to do.
Yeah.
So if the point comes that we can lower property tax for the citizens here because they're paying their fair share, then that's gonna be a win-win for everybody, for all of us, you know. And that's really the general point of this. Everything else that you see in the charter, like I said, that is our city ordinances, how it's implemented now, and basically how general rule or general law is for the state of Texas when it comes to governing municipalities. So, but, you know, we have it there, and we have one specific thing we're really trying to implement. So, and annexation, I know you see in there a little bit about annexation, and that's following state law. And possibly, we're not looking to actually annex these properties, we're actually looking for a settlement in lieu of tax. So we say, okay, well, we have jurisdiction at this point, we don't necessarily want to annex you, but you need to pay your share. So they'll come in between, and they'll have maybe they'll pay a little less, but but they'll do it because they know they can be annexed. And it makes it easier for everybody. Or they can be annexed. And then they're susceptible to the same tax everyone else is.
Those are all good reasons that I'm in favor of also. I think they're fair, just for the city. But I also think it's a good idea because Cotulla is not the sleepy little city we used to be, or sleepy little town.
Absolutely.
Very
And
true.
we're on top of so much improvement here now, and I mean on top of it by good ordinances and good structure, city structure.
Well, and, yeah, like I told a friend of mine in San Antonio, I said, you know, Cotulla is right in between two two cities on 35. We have potential to grow and progress, and this is going to help in that progression for the community. I mean, being right on 35, being on,
In my line of business, I'm competitive in business, but my competition is not somebody else here in Cotulla. My competition is Carrizo Springs or Pearsall or Dilley or Pleasant. And that's who we're competing with, and we're trying to get a government that's efficient and geared with the right
I agree.
responsibilities and authority to do certain things that'll get us an economic development zone or something,
Now,
a free trade zone.
this charter, it doesn't, like I just read it briefly, it doesn't mess with the hierarchy of the way the city government is currently running, right?
Not really.
As far as the mayor and the city
Can I
manager.
speak on that real quick?
It spells it out.
The current charter that you have there doesn't change anything the way it is.
Okay,
But you have the power to make those changes.
gotcha.
If this is the constitution for the city of Cotulla, and you guys are designing this, That charter, you guys have the power to do any of it. But that is not changing the hierarchy or chain of command of the current city.
Gotcha.
If we
Sort of
don't
in a
want
way it
that,
You
does.
don't want it, yes, right.
With the city manager having a lot more authority.
There's an ordinance that already gives him that authority. So it's
Okay.
that way already. So that was changed several.
That's a lot of my questions here is how does this compare to what we're doing right now? So that's good.
One other thing you could
Doesn't
also,
change as much.
one other thing you could also do online, if you go to Muni Code, Cotulla, you can bring up the city code and ordinances that we currently have in place. And you can actually read them and compare them to the charter, and you'll see that it kind of coincides with what's on the
Something I'd like to do initially too is let's just start going down it page by page. And I know you haven't had a chance to study it much yet, so we can come back to anything at any time at a later meeting.
Yes, sir.
But I'd like to start now because I haven't had the opportunity. On the first page, Article 1, form of government boundaries, I didn't have a problem with anything that was listed there. It all looked like it was essentially what we're already doing. I mean, it spells it out. Nothing controversial.
I think where it helped me out was I was able to learn some new terminology that I wasn't acquainted with, which is good.
Oh, I was looking at some terms as well.
I went on to the next, page 3, powers of the city.
It's,
And
Article 2.
again, it's, Article 2, powers of the city, section 2.0001. That all looked pretty much the same too. I didn't see anything controversial there or questions. I did have some questions on perhaps just terms or how it is right now when we get down to Article 3, page 4, City Council.
Pretty much what we were discussing a couple
Yeah,
minutes ago.
it does spell out it's mayor and 5 council members, which is like it is now. I was curious, they're all elected at large. Is that how they are elected right now? Is it large?
Yes, yeah, they are.
Okay. So that stays the same. And I guess that's the way you want it.
Yes.
Two-year terms, that's the same as it is now. And the way they're split, odd and even years. In the next section, 302, it said what the qualifications for the city council were. And I'm guessing it reads about the same, but it talks about any offense. You can't have any offense involving moral turpitude.
That's one of the terms that I was looking into.
I was just curious what that was because it doesn't exactly define it.
Yeah, I had to look it up to see what it's a very broad term. It
That's what I
has
thought.
a bunch of line by
Where
line.
are you seeing this?
Page 4, section 3.02,
Okay.
first sentence. Talking about having no felony convictions or offense involving moral turpitude.
That would be like
Yeah,
burglary,
that's kind of it.
robbing, pickpocketing. It can be something as simple as that. That kind of involves violation. of-
But the word moral kind of
Misdemeanor
includes everything,
charges.
doesn't it?
Right.
Yeah, and when I looked at the term, like I said, this was just a Google search and looking through several things there. The term is very broad and it encompasses a lot of.
Disorderly conduct could probably be there, but disorderly conduct would be a misdemeanor.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it,
Because there was some, just like Mr. Page, there was some other words that I was looking at and other verbiage in there, and this is where I had to do a lot of research, and one word pretty much umbrellas a lot of what's in what
It's pretty much
covered in there.
catch-all for anything that's not a felony.
So if you want to,
But it would have to involve moral you know, moral turpitude. I guess if you got caught jaywalking and it was illegal in Cotulla,
So,
that would not involve moral turpitude, but
Do you, would you think that we need to define it more?
So
Be
I'm
more
looking on,
clear?
I'm looking online and it's a bit much.
It's a broad term, right?
Well, and then it gives you examples of what it would be, and it would be offenses against people that are considered crimes of moral turpitude include assault, sexual assault, child abuse or neglect, kidnapping, murder, manslaughter.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, those are
most
Bad
most
things.
would- those are
Very bad
felonies.
things.
It's
I-
acceptable.
Is it only felonies, or is it gonna include
misdemeanors.
It
misdemeanors?
says
Because
mis-
assault is a misdemeanor also.
It depends.
yeah,
Yeah.
the level of assault, I think he should omit that and just put felonies in there in general, because a misdemeanor is exactly what it is, you know.
Where is this?
But that's why it's in there, because if you just leave it as a felony and you have let's say you have a misdemeanor offense like robbing somebody or pickpocketing, well, that's an offense involving moral turpitude,
Yeah.
and it might not necessarily be a felony, but would you want that person on as a city council member that would find it so easily
Right.
to rob somebody, even though it's not a felony?
Yeah,
So I
that's-
believe that's why
Or
it's in
child
there.
abuse or anything.
Exactly.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, that-
I'm not for taking it out. I just
Yeah.
looking for definitions here.
Yeah.
That's what we want.
I think it's in there. I've seen it used before. I know I'm a retired border patrol agent, and we use that quite often.
A lot of law
turpitude.
documents.
I think
Because
it
it's-
sounds like something discretionary.
Yeah.
It's up to us to determine
Yeah.
what moral turpitude is gonna be. And I guess, you know, every case would be, you know, you see each one individually, and based on what the act was or the offense was, then we determine at that point whether that's considered moral turpitude. Right, I guess
Now,
It says it, yeah. 'Cause
w-
it says it.
I guess my question is, are we in favor of keeping it as is, or do we want to add and define what
I
the
think-
term means?
I think it's something that needs to be in there. As far as, you know, at what point, like I was saying, you know, where someone could be removed from the crime they committed or something like that would be up to somebody else. But it needs to be in there because it's a catch-all,
Okay, so-
and you don't want someone in that position, especially
Next to
when
that.
you have the kind of business that we're talking about, where
Because those are
someone that's essentially a caretaker for millions of dollars, you know, you want that moral turpitude in there because that kind of sets the standard high and says, hey, we're not going to allow for any.
Well, yeah, there's a certain expectation when you
Exactly.
are in this
Yeah.
position. You're
Right.
elevated, you know,
Right.
to the position of.
Exactly.
Well, and Elsa was saying, why don't we just include whatever we found in Google and put it in parentheses to say, you know, assault, child abuse,
To
or
like
whatnot.
define what it.
Yeah,
what it
so,
is.
you know.
Now, is that something that we need to
Maybe.
consult with?
Yeah, this is
Yeah,
where
that's
we'll
what I
get
was
some
thinking.
answers from the city attorney.
Right.
Yeah,
He would be
Let
the
him
best
have
one
his-
to.
Input on it, but yeah, well, I want to keep it.
you could be writing down some of your changes though, and then we could
Yeah,
give
that's
it
what
to
I'm-
him
That's
and, you know, on one
you're
sheet.
free to write on these books, by the way.
Why do you want to?
All you want.
Maybe add explanation or samples. Right?
Yeah.
Examples, yeah.
Examples.
There's a lot of other things in there that make sense to me also. But I did have a question there at the bottom, and apparently they expected us to spend some time on it because it's in italics. Mandatory and sole jurisdiction for questions of residency for elected and appointed officials, candidates, and issues associated with it shall lie exclusively with the city council, whose decision shall be final. I mean, I've seen these problems come up, is why it got my attention. And I was just curious about that, David. Because I don't know if, you know, that's the council ruling on its own body.
Yeah. Yeah.
If somebody disagrees with council, they have the right to go to a judge or file a suit or something like that. Just curious.
Yeah,
That sounds like another.
So
city
what is
attorney
protocol?
question.
What is protocol if they don't agree with I guess, the disciplinary action from the city council? How do they?
Lawsuit,
District attorney, I would assume.
that's generally, there would be probably a lawsuit placed, and then it would go to Steve pretty much. Like at this point, I think city council has final, that's the top. Like, that's the decision and that's it. So, and if somebody's not happy with it, they can they pretty much have to file a lawsuit.
Because it clearly says whose decision shall be final. So it's like it stops there, right?
It's like it's the Supreme Court or something. Anyway, we need Steve's input on that, as far as I'm concerned,
Okay.
for the final product.
Now, is this something we need to, I guess, type out, send to him, or maybe?
One thing I can do is if you guys gather your questions, all together,
Okay.
Steve will not be available January 10th, and 2 weeks after that. If we schedule a meeting after those parameters, then I can actually get him just to come in here and answer them directly for you, any of the questions.
This is after the 10th?
Yeah,
Okay.
2 weeks, well.
Or
I think he
before,
said-
if we meet before.
So it'd be at the end of January is when you would have to meet to have him come in.
Okay, well, he could surely answer some of this stuff just by,
Well, I can call him.
Text or
yeah,
email.
That too. We can call him and I can get
Phone.
answers, or Mr. Dolina can get answers.
yeah.
And when are we supposed to put this together or compile this? I thought they said February, right?
Yes, sir.
It doesn't,
That
it
was
doesn't
the-
have to fall on February,
Yeah.
but that's.
If we
kind
want to
of
get it into this,
To the
this election cycle
Election
for
cycle.
May. But, yeah, and which, that's another thing we'll discuss, as far as having meetings, I mean,
If we can get a list of
so we can hit the deadline. If that's where we want to.
the goal is not to pick this thing apart, but it's to be able to support anything we decide to present.
Yeah.
If people
Yeah.
ask us why we did it.
But these articles have been in existence for a long time, right? And I guess we're sitting down and we're kind of just
Reviewing.
dissecting it and trying to figure out what it is that we need to make, modify or whatnot.
No.
Right.
So on the next one, compensation, it says members of the city council shall not receive a salary for the position, but shall be eligible for reimbursement as expenses incurred, okay? But the next line is the mayor's, and there's no, is the mayor paid? Talks about city council, but not the mayor.
At this point, it's volunteer.
It's
There's-
volunteer.
yeah, there's no
Both.
pay.
So it's not in there because he is going to get, not that I'm against it, I'm asking, is he going to be
Well,
compensated?
he is part of the city council. That's what the deal
Correct.
is.
Mayor
Okay.
is not compensated.
So it doesn't
on council.
differentiate between a council member and the mayor?
No, it doesn't.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, up there at 302, it says, the mayor is, or 301, city council is comprised of a mayor and 5 council members.
Gotcha,
So he's
okay.
part of the council.
Okay.
Now, I guess to add on to compensation, is that something that we want to discuss further, or keep it as is where?
I was just assuming leave it as is.
Okay.
If y'all don't want to throw pay in there for them. I personally think it's a good idea because it lets somebody that is not as well off financially still run for the office and be able to support his family. But that's just me.
I know some other local governments or city governments, what they do is they give them a stipend of $200 or $125 per month or
meeting or
whatever,
something.
per meeting. I honestly feel that it's cumbersome having to come to the meetings and having to make decisions. And sometimes these meetings don't take an hour. Sometimes these meetings take 3, 4, 5 hours, depending on how controversial they are. And I think it's time that the city council or the local, the community, compensate some of the councilmen. not to provide a salary or for the family or whatnot, but at least to give them some kind of compensation, because it is time consuming. You know, I was in the school board for a long time, for about 9 years when I was in Carrizo, and never once did they come. And let me tell you guys, we worked tirelessly, you know, for hours and hours. Sometimes we'd get out at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, because that's how intense the meetings would get. And I'm sure that the same thing happens here.
Oh, yeah.
So I would venture to say maybe we could look into doing something
Some
like
kind
that.
of compensation. I'm with you. Noe and Mr. Page. You know, maybe start it off at something. You know, maybe you don't want a whole salary for
Right.
that
No.
and give the wrong impression of what you're trying to do. But you know, like Noe was saying, I mean, it does make sense just because it is time consuming, and you want the effort from these guys. You want some kind of, you know, good effort from them, because they're representing you basically here, and you want good representation, and maybe that's the way to go.
I also would like for them to receive something for their work and not be enticed by some payoffs under the table or something like that, be tempted.
Yeah.
It happens.
Yeah, it could
Yeah.
absolutely.
Just
That possibility always exists, right? So
we'll ask that as a question to the council and city council, mayor, and see what they say about it.
So we'll have a question in regards to the compensation.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's, anybody
I'll try
forming
to
questions so we can
write
get
these
into-
down in my notes and put them in an email to you
Okay,
the
yeah,
city.
Yeah.
to
That's,
give them our working questions.
Now, is that something that we can do is,
Yeah, well, yeah, if you could, you have general questions, put them in paper, and then I'll pass them to Steve Peña, and he can give responses to those.
now is it?
Okay, in an email?
In an
Yeah,
email.
email would be great.
Yeah, that's fine. I just
Forward
wanted to
the
make sure.
email to the-
Well, and what we can do is we can CC you and say, just to make sure that it's all in the up and up and it's not clandestine or anything like that.
Some mayors vote on all votes, and some mayors don't vote except to break ties.
The time.
Ours doesn't vote except to break ties. So that's something we want to
That's
leave
something that-
the way it is, that's fine,
I think that's a good idea.
the way they're doing it now.
Yeah. I think so personally, but
Yeah, it would make it even. So you have them
It specifically says down there on page 5 on number 4, the mayor shall not receive a salary.
Which
But
position?
that's, again, one of the things that we'll ask them for input on. Okay. I did have a question on how things work right now. On page 5, section 3.06, election of the mayor and council members. Mayor and council members shall be elected by a plurality vote. I didn't realize that. Is that the way it is now or not?
does that mean unanimous?
No. No.
It should be popular, I think, shouldn't it?
No, what that means is, say you've got 3 candidates for an office, one office, and one person gets 40% and the other 2 get 30% of the vote. Nobody got over 50% of the vote, majority.
Yeah.
But plurality means the one in the lead is the winner,
Right.
even though he only has 40%.
That's the way it is now.
That's the way it is right now?
We don't have runoffs, so whoever gets
We
the
do not
highest-
have runoffs. If you have a majority vote, the top 2 candidates would then have a separate election. And one of them would have to get 50% plus 1.
Yeah, that just happened in Laredo not a couple of weeks ago. They had
So-
a runoff.
If that's the way they want to do it, then I don't have a problem, but I like the idea of 50 plus 1.
you know that on the on 3.07, filling vacancies, right? It does kind of specify what we were talking about. It says that if any member of the city council or the mayor ceases to possess the required qualifications for their office, or who is convicted of a felony or of a misdemeanor involving moral turpitude. There it is again.
There it is
It could be a
again.
misdemeanor,
Yeah,
and if it involves moral turpitude,
yeah.
then you're out. You're automatically out, as a matter of fact, is what
You
it
don't
says.
qualify.
You don't, yeah.
Automatically deemed to have forfeited such office.
Exactly.
Where was that?
But it also says such forfeiture shall be declared by resolution.
The very bottom,
The council still votes on it.
and then the next.
Oh,
page.
yes, right here.
And enforced by council.
How often, is that enforced quite often?
I haven't seen it happen.
Okay.
In 12 years I've been here, I haven't seen that happen.
I haven't noticed.
We have had council members that would miss a lot of meetings and stuff like that and become close. But mostly the council would excuse them and they'd let them, because a lot of times they have a good reason. We had one in the past that would just do it just to do it. You know, but he would always come on that third meeting to make sure that he did.
Oh,
I've never really seen, and actually currently, I did have to look at their application, but I don't think they asked them about the felonies and all that on the current
I
application.
don't know, I don't think they do.
I don't think they do.
They don't
I don't.
ask
think-
them?
So we'd have to ask
Wow,
Georgia. 'cause
that's
she handles
something
the
that needs to
election.
be addressed.
So if I were to, if any one of us were to run for office and you submit an application, 'cause I've never run for office, so that questionnaire has, there's no place for criminal history on it?
So I need clarification because I haven't seen it, but it's never come up.
That's
Like it's
a
never,
big-
we've never heard anything like that.
Wow, that's
So
something that
Miss
needs to-
Georgia, she's on vacation this week and she generally runs elections for the city. And she would have the answer for us, but I've never heard of it come up. I think it's not there.
Think by law, we can't,
You can't currently.
we
under the
can't
rule.
like ask them, you know, hey, do you have?
A
you
conviction?
can't ask them that?
And,
I think
and
isn't
well,
that-
this is
isn't
something
that,
that, yeah, we
oh.
need to talk to Steve about.
You know what, I wouldn't know. But I would think it'd be public information if you were running for a public office, because you are public.
But, yeah, but at that point, we or the public would have to make a request for it.
From who?
From the candidate. Nobody has to divulge, like us including, we don't have to divulge any information unless it's requested. And then, of course, there's a lot of things that can't be requested. But that is something, of course, that could.
Yeah, 'cause it's
I'd like some clarification on that, because
Maybe
that's kind of confusing.
maybe viewing the
Because I'd like some
application.
clarification.
See what it
I
has.
would do. I agree with you.
It'll ask the question whether you have any criminal history, and I don't know what the application does here. It'll ask the question, but you can lie.
Well, yeah.
You can
Oh,
lie.
of course.
And then they can go back and then they can run a criminal check if that individual agrees that you can run that criminal check.
Right.
As far as city
So-
staff,
so-
that's,
Well, I mean, yeah, it should be.
So it's a
between
catch-22
the
kind of
city
deal, right?
and
Where
the candidate,
right.
but I do believe that it needs to be.
because
some
let
sort
me
of
tell
vetting
you, there's a lot of people working in schools. There's a lot of people working in sheriff's departments. There's a lot of people that have criminal history. And I know I worked in the criminal aspect of the law, and I knew of a lot of them that had criminal history. But yet they were able to still work for the sheriff's department, because sometimes what you do is you just throw it under the rug unless it comes up later on. And that's just the way it is, you know.
That's not so good.
No. But what I'm saying, it's the way it is unless they enforce the policy that's in place.
Because it's usually in there somewhere. It has to be.
It's there for the
That's-
Border
yeah.
Patrol, probably.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
They
you
do
know,
a thorough
Well, they run you over and over.
background check.
Yeah. So,
Get that clarification.
Because I've
from
known-
Even
Steve
for
on that,
gate guarding, they do
because
that.
that's
I know of
something that
individuals
needs
that
to
have
be
criminal history, but it's never been processed
proper
through
vetting
the,
of candidates.
it's never been processed through the local law enforcement, or they've never been convicted, but yet have that criminal history that's sitting there. And they can say, you know, if they're not indicted or convicted, then there is no criminal history.
right. Well, I don't.
But it should be enforced. I'm not saying
Yeah.
don't just kind of
Yeah.
oversee or just
Just a
overlook it.
Especially nowadays.
Yeah.
Just a question. You know, just,
So they don't even have to give their telephone number.
Here's another general question I had, guys. Y'all tossed it out or tossed me out. I don't care. But it's still under section 3.08, powers of the city council. Number 2 says no individual member of the city council shall have any power to act, investigate, make appointments, inquire into the conduct of any office, department, or agency of the city. Well, to me, that doesn't seem quite right. If any concerned citizen's got a question,
The language in there kind of,
is that a normal condition?
Any power to act, investigate, make a point, or inquire into the conduct of any office.
If you've got some malfeasance going on in the city, or with an individual, or
Shall not have, well, and right there, that one line, no individual member of the city council shall have any power to act
right.
or investigate. I get the shall not have the ability to investigate. I get that. What authority would you have or to make an appointment? Maybe not.
No.
But to act, I mean, if there's malfeasance,
Ask
you
or
can just
question,
make,
or
make the
inquire.
call, or inquire through
yeah, it says there, yeah.
through outside source, through the state, through
Yeah.
the FBI, whatever.
Section 308.
You
That's
would think
not-
that individual member would have the ability to make a call.
We'll
No.
ask Steve about that.
So the city council is a board, like this board is,
Mhm.
and they make decisions as a council. Any councilman generally alone has no authority. So that authority in an emergency situation is given to the mayor. That is your principal person to act. The council, they can only act as a group with a vote. That's how it is currently.
No, I understand. What I'm saying is we're talking. Okay, generally speaking, I would imagine that would be okay, right? Like, any situation that would come up, it would require the city council. I was thinking more along the lines of malfeasance or something other than norm, because right there you're nipping that city council member from making any decision to inquire outside city council.
Correct. So on city council, and this is just me saying, but on city council, you have people of different backgrounds, different beliefs, and then all of a sudden, you put 6 people with different beliefs in a position to make decisions for just the littlest minute things, and now you have them fighting back and forth, because this one don't like this, and now you have city staff like, what do I do?
Right.
It just creates a very hostile atmosphere.
Hostile environment to be
Yes,
in.
sir. Yes, sir. So, and I have seen some situations like that other places, and it is, their staff is like, what do we do? Like, because it's still the rule, but it kind of gets out, they get away from it, and they start to allow it, and it gets out of hand.
So what is the procedure to investigate someone in the city council that has some malfeasance or whatever that they've done?
It would probably be a complaint to the city.
So they would complain to the state, right? Then the state would come in and investigate, and
Yeah.
So they would go outside.
instead of letting the city council do the actual investigation.
Yeah, no, that wouldn't happen that way. It would go to the state.
Right.
So,
And that was my question, like, it
And
can't
you have-
just be
Outside
in there.
sources.
There has to be an outside
Right.
source.
so
to
you have the
do that.
EOC,
Right.
in which you can report them to the EOC.
Right,
And they'll do a full investigation, and that's generally
Yeah.
how it works.
yeah. Excuse me, I've never been in any kind of city government, so I have no idea. I'm asking questions because.
Plenty fine. I love getting
Yeah,
answers.
because it comes up and it's like, well, there's got to be a way to do that without.
I got you.
A lot of these things, I'm asking questions about them because I've seen them at our council meetings. We've got some pretty hostile and hot meetings on occasion. When there's a lot of tempers flaring, and
Yeah, I've seen those.
that's why I'm glad they're doing it, not me.
But it says without the specific authorization, but they don't have authority to do it, right?
Yeah.
I'm thinking I'm just, reading this wrong. I was worried more about anybody being able to ask the question of something they think's going wrong. Whether a council member or not. Or specifically, if they are a council member, they should be able to. But I may be reading it all wrong. may pertain to a different topic, like an official investigation. I'm not
Yeah.
talking about official investigation. That was all I had, and I can ask Steve to talk about that. I didn't have any more problems with the rest of that page.
On E,
E,
yeah, where it says advise and consent appointment of citizen advisory boards or commissions, which is one of our boards. I know we had discussed it last time. Do you think that it would be beneficial for the community to convene the same board that we have every 10 years or 20 years? Because like I said, the winds of change from one year to the next, and this is of course to review, to add, to take away, because what's popular now may not be popular in 10 or 20 years, and it's for the benefit of the community. Instead of being stagnant, we want to go forward. Now, do you think that's something that maybe we should add on there, or is that something that maybe we can do?
I know what you're saying, and I agree it should be something available, and it is always available. I just don't feel like tying their hands and forcing it, because I've also seen things that are working so well, why mess with it?
Yeah. No, and it could be that, yeah, they just go in there and they
And-
look and they say, hey,
And
everything's
he also
working,
gave
so
some
why?
examples too, remember, of how some of them mess with it every year or so.
Oh,
Little-
which is why, I threw 10 years or 20,
Yeah.
a year would be.
Because we don't know what our lifespan's going to be. We don't know whether tomorrow we're out or as soon as we're done with this, we're out. So it could take another.
Well,
I just
and
didn't let a
what-
city council decide if it's necessary.
What, like I said, 10 years, a lot of change
Oh, yeah.
happens in 10 years. Now imagine,
Yep.
when was the last time that they looked at this? This is the first time in
Yeah, this is gonna
For
be.
the
this.
city's history?
I think it was 2017 that this was spoken about, that they were actually taking action on it. And the two councilwomen that were here at the time, I believe they lost the election and it got pushed to the side.
Okay,
So, but there was a plan prior and it was at the beginning stages and they had a vote on it and it just ended there. And I think it was 2017.
so we haven't had this before.
No, this is brand new to the city.
So
This is
again,
as far as it's gotten.
This
Just
is-
throwing it
this
out
is
there.
We're the first charter commission.
Oh, nice.
Well, and,
Nice.
you know,
Making
and-
history.
and which is why, because I think that that's something that not just us, but 10 years down the road, other citizens
Well,
in
this-
this community.
You're right.
It's a good
Should look into
question
that.
about this particular topic, but this paragraph E is about any board. And there are a lot of boards the city can appoint,
Yeah, I believe.
nothing to do with this.
I believe that part is towards the end, and we'll go back to that. I
Yeah.
remember seeing, I just saw that, and I thought I'd
That'd
bring
be
it
things
up.
like airport advisory boards, or city park advisory board, or library advisory board, all
Yeah.
kinds of things.
Yeah, we
I
can-
didn't have any questions on the rest of 3.08. And getting down to 3.09 prohibitions, they didn't seem unusual either. Is it a current, I do have a question on current policy. Like number one there, until 5 years after the expiration of the last term. Can city council members now get on with a city job or something immediately after they're off the council?
So the charter reads 5 years for city secretary or council or mayor, and I think it is the same right now.
Yeah, okay, that's what I was asking. To me, it's a pretty decent prohibition.
You're out.
So
they
that's
can't make
that's
a
the moratorium.
mistake themselves.
That's the moratorium, right? That they have to wait
Wait.
5 years to be able to.
Yeah, to take a paying job for the city. I didn't have a problem with any of that, I just
Same here, yeah.
made sure I read it right.
It's a long time.
Then they talk in 310 about how many meetings and how many you gotta show up for and all.
That was that, yeah, that 3 missed meeting rule or something like that.
On quorum, I have a general question. It's it's not necessarily pertaining to this charter, but 311 on page 8, quorum. And it says a majority of the council members shall constitute a quorum. Well, that would be 3, 3 out of 5.
Regular meeting.
My question was, what happens to business of the council if you show up with 3 and then 1 storms out of the meeting and you're left with 2? Do you still get to keep doing
You
business?
can conduct, yeah.
Business stops
Yeah.
when they
It
leave.
stops.
And then special meeting, it's more stringent, you have to have 4.
Yeah, 2/3.
Yeah, but if
Majority.
we can't get the quorum, there's no meeting, and it's a meeting.
I'm just curious if it's not that. It's got nothing to do with this document.
Just hope they don't walk out.
No, yeah.
Wow, so that's how bad it is on your council meetings when they were feuding and fighting.
Yeah.
Good
So,
grief.
the only other thing is if the mayor does not show up and Mayor Pro Tem, which is the council member, has to run the meeting, he still continues to have his vote.
Yeah, it still says that
Right, you
too.
still have that quorum, so you have 2 council plus Mayor Pro Tem.
Yeah.
And that works that way, but it won't work the other way.
Wow. But you can't split ties.
Right.
All
it's
right.
kinda hard at that point, but
Okay.
but he still gets the vote.
That's
You
six,
know, number,
6 absences,
but that includes special
combination.
meetings.
regular or called,
This is on.
on
312.
attendance,
Okay.
312.
I don't see where you're reading it, but that would be considered
3.12.
6 meetings that are separated, but it's 3 when they're consecutive.
Right, 3 consecutive, yeah.
Yes.
12?
Yeah.
Well, it's on 312,
Oh, there it is.
but you don't have 6 in 6 months. That's all you have, except you can have special called meetings,
Right.
and those count in those 6.
Yeah, we definitely have quite a few special meetings.
Yeah, so they could miss 6 easily
Right.
in 6 months. This is a general question for you too, not this document per se.
Okay.
315, Council Rules of Procedure, number 1. The city council shall provide that the citizens of the city have a reasonable opportunity to clearly hear and be heard at all regular meetings and public hearings with regard to specific matters under consideration. To me, that says not just speaking at the beginning for public comments.
Okay, so, yeah, the law changed in 2018. When a person, there is a section for public comments, and it can be limited. But now a person can walk into a council meeting and they can speak through the entire meeting.
Oh,
And
Even on specific agenda items?
even on specific
Yes.
specific items. The thing is the council is not allowed to reply, or they're not allowed to debate the person. If the person is considered to be unruly, then that's where it ends.
Yeah.
But a person can come in with, normal protests, and you can speak, you can make your comments, and do whatever you please.
And they have to do it properly to where they go up.
That's
and
right.
They can't just be screaming in the back.
Oh, yeah, I'm all for that.
Yeah,
Just a chance to let the public be heard.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2018.
They don't
so
have
it's
to
not like
agree
an
or-
open forum, normally you have an open forum at the beginning of the meeting, right?
Yeah, we
Citizens'
still do.
comments, yeah.
We still do.
But then they can speak during the time that
Absolutely.
y'all are having the meeting, and they can hold up that meeting for an hour if they wanted to.
Well, I think we are allowed to put a limit.
Yeah,
Okay.
make it a 1 minute or 2
But they
minute.
are allowed to speak throughout the meeting.
Okay.
So, and that power's left to the mayor on
That's
how
decent.
long they're allowed to speak.
Thanks.
Or the,
That was all I had for questions.
I rambled.
Should we be ready for the next meeting?
Mr. Page is gonna attend.
You answered all my questions.
Official meetings.
I did have a question about 316 on general ordinances, number 3. It says the city attorney shall approve all ordinances submitted to the city council for adoption. And I can understand the city attorney looking over every proposed ordinance to tell you if it's legal or not, but I don't know that I like the word approve. It's like he's a one-man show on letting things go before the city council.
This is on where?
And then they
Page
at the
9,
end of it there, they say
number
evidence
3.
of legal approval of said ordinance shall be by notation for the ordinance itself. So, yeah, maybe that's a little.
I'm going
vague there.
to toss that in my list of questions for
Yeah.
Steve.
That's a good question.
Can I go to section 314, the abstention? And I don't have my glasses, but my question is, so what happens? So what happens if someone, we know that it's a conflict of, they know it's a conflict of interest, and the city councilman refuses to abstain, and they vote on that specific item?
They're in trouble.
Yeah, there's another ordinance there too, or caveat.
If they get caught, they're in trouble.
Like 314 talks about conflict of interest also.
Well, and that's what I was reading right now, 314. So what happens if they don't abstain? They vote on it. I've seen cases like that where they vote
That's a loss.
and they're supposed to be abstaining, and
It would take
I don't
somebody to come and basically file a lawsuit and say, hey, this guy voted on this and he wasn't supposed to, and it goes through the legal process.
Definitely have to be discovered, and then
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if I skip over something that I didn't have a question about, y'all can certainly speak up if you got a question about it. Number 8, I think that's how we already do it too. That's probably law. On page 9, if a proposed ordinance gets amended during a city council meeting, you can't take final action on it until the next meeting.
I don't know. I don't have the answer to that one. It's probably how it goes, but I just don't know.
Because it got amended and the public didn't have a chance to
Right.
Oh, yeah.
read it before it gets voted on.
They'll
It
have
has to be
they have to
posted,
bring it
right?
back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It can be amended, but it just can't be,
Yeah, they'll have to bring
Approved.
it back with the proper, whatever it was amended, and
Yeah.
they have to approve the final one. So, yes.
so somebody can come in and make a public comment.
E.T.
I'm not going to do it. Don't worry about that.
Just kidding.
Oh. Any other questions? I've got a question about how things are done now. On page 11, section 321, Code of Ethics. Do we have a code of ethics now? Official code?
So we have the city handbook is what we have.
And for council, we provide them with the TML one, the TML. They have a basic code of like, a
It's the
guide
SOP
to new
or something?
councilmen, and it basically tells them what they can and can't do.
Okay, this says the city will have one, an official code of ethics.
Governing the council.
Yeah.
Currently, it is the city handbook, and then, like Bianca said, when they become new members of council.
Well, if
they-
that is the case, it may need to designate it as that document.
Yeah, make something new for both.
So put that verbiage that document is
Specifically
Referred code of
addressed.
ethics.
Yeah. It refers to the right document the city's got. I didn't have any more questions on that page or the next.
This should prohibit, that's an ordinance, that any official facility is So we have this, but it's broken up into pieces. So some of it's in the ordinance.
I got a question on Article 4, City Administration.
Article 4.
And towards the bottom of the page, when you get down to number 4, suspension or removal of the city manager, paragraph C, Charlie. And when it starts talking about if the manager is suspended or terminated because of a final conviction for a misdemeanor involving moral turpitude again, or personal gain, and then semicolon, charged with or indicted for any felony, then their city is under no obligation. That's, to me, like you're guilty until proven innocent. I didn't know an indictment was guilt.
It's not.
It's not.
I know you, but if you got it in here,
That's what.
it becomes law as far as the city manager is concerned.
Shall from the day of suspension continue to
Generally, the way it
consider
works now, ET, is that the only way that the city manager can be suspended or removed from office is by a vote by city council. So they're brought in with a vote and they're removed with a vote.
Yeah.
At that point, pay would stop immediately after the vote. There wouldn't, unless there is a severance. If there's a severance, then that
Yeah.
will be deviated.
I know you've got that, and that's probably going to determine most of these severances.
That's right.
That's not covered here.
Right.
But here it doesn't say anything about a city council vote for suspending the pay. It's just an indictment. Anyway, I'd like the city manager's input on that, whether that's an appropriate thing to do.
That's number 4,
A lot of
letter
them
Charlie.
have
Yes.
contracts.
On general city administration.
It's I can see it. I can see why, because so let's say there is no conviction, but there is a charge, right? And I see your point. However, because of his position in the public eye,
Yeah.
I can see where they would just remove him without pay. However, let's say, for example, the city manager comes back because he, whatever, wins his case, then you're going to have to pay him back pay with interest, probably.
Yeah.
So he's going to get his money. He should. So I can see why they would cut ties, just because it's in the interest of city government, politics, to not pay him. I think. That's what I'm just guessing.
I've seen it where it's just petty vindictiveness too.
True.
We don't like him and we don't want to pay him.
Yeah.
I can see that too.
I'm not saying change this, I'm just saying we need a reading from
Yeah.
the city why they're doing it or want to do it. And that's the end of all my questions, detailed questions right now. Also, some of this doesn't apply. You may not have picked up on it in the conversation, but now there's a lot of severance packages. The city administrators or council managers having a contract is what it amounts to.
I leave.
Where if you get rid of me for any reason at all,
Gotta pay.
I get a certain amount
To buy
for a
out.
certain amount of time.
You're gonna pay my salary for 2 years.
Yeah,
It's a good
you can get
buyout,
rid of
right?
me whenever you want to, but you pay me for 2 years.
That's the current situation. That's how it is now. There's a contract. But if there's a removal for any reason, the contract is paid.
Yeah, and it's fair to the men, because so often I've seen councils that are petty and vindictive, and they get on a council just for the sole purpose of getting rid of so and so, and then he's gone, and without a job, he's got to go to the next town. I don't like it, but that's the way it goes.
Yeah, it's who wrote this, by the way? Where did this?
Steve, the city attorney,
The city attorney. Okay, that's where it came.
pulled this from wherever his files are and other
Other
communities
communities probably. Yeah.
that their firm has worked with, because they do represent other cities. And it's an example.
That's probably the same thing that they use in Carrizo and Pearsall. It's And I guess they have to make it to where it's more applicable to our
They probably
county, to our city.
tried to temper it real close to what our existing one is too. Because I don't see very many changes, which is good. We still need to go through all the rest of it, in my opinion,
Yes.
but I'm not trying to get you to do it tonight because it's already been an hour.
How was your pen?
That's another thing.
No, it's
Hour and
7:20.
5 minutes.
And see, that's another thing
And
that I
Texas.
wanted to discuss, since I'm assuming the goal here is to finish by, was it February 9th?
Yes, sir.
So I think it would behoove us to schedule next Thursday and until we get all this, so we can have the product
That's
finished.
What do y'all think about that?
next Thursday?
Next Thursday?
That's fine. What's next Thursday, the 5th?
5th.
The 5th,
Yeah,
January.
as long as it's in the afternoon, I can be.
That's
6:15?
6:15 at the same time.
We're trying to do
Yeah,
it
that's good.
after work for citizens in the community to be able to come see us.
Yeah.
No, that's fine. I can be here Thursday.
Yeah.
I like the idea too of doing it every week to give the citizens as much opportunity to come here and us to do it without spending 4 hours.
Right.
Well, and see, that's another thing is, that's why I was asking those questions about how, I could post or anything like that, because I want to get more folks involved.
So
and
if
here.
we schedule a meeting for next Thursday, I will post the agenda, Monday afternoon.
Okay.
So anytime after Monday night, if you want, you can start.
Yeah, just to get more folks involved
Yeah.
and hear their input and what they want us to think about. And,
Because we may not get to talk about as many of these topics if we've got a whole lot of citizen comments and questions.
yeah.
And this is gonna be posted, you said, Bianca, at some point?
Yes,
On the
I
website?
post the agenda, I post a copy of it outside on our bulletin
No,
board.
no, the actual,
Oh,
charter.
yeah, I asked Steve, did he send you a copy?
No, he hasn't sent me a copy, and I believe we already had a copy, but I'll give it.
No,
I thought y'all were gonna post it online.
I don't have an
Yeah,
electronic copy.
we're gonna post it on the city website. I'll call Steve tomorrow for the electronic copy.
Okay.
So,
that way, if, once that hits, maybe people that are looking at stuff for the city all the
Yeah.
time will wanna come in and comment.
I'll text him right now.
We had some pretty, what I thought were, kind of negative people at our earlier meetings that I haven't seen since then. So I expected to be,
Well, I'm sure it's gonna get a little animated once this is approved or whatnot, or when we have our meetings or hearings or whatever. But that's why I really want to be prepared and want to be able to read everything and review it and make sure that I know what I'm talking
Same.
about, because I'm afraid,
yeah.
that if I respond to something and then it's incorrect, then, and the audience is out there hearing me, then I'm in trouble.
Yeah,
We're all in trouble.
trying to get our act together.
No, it makes sense.
Be the same page.
Yeah. I think you're gonna have more people on board than not. I think it just makes sense right now.
I would think so and hope so.
You may have a few. I mean, I'm not familiar, but you probably would have a few that would be against it for their own.
Well, if it's gonna impact that.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. That's gonna be few. I would think, but maybe not. We'll see.
Okay.
So, we're in agreement that's what we're gonna do.
Next Thursday,
Next Thursday.
6:15.
Should we vote on that?
And thank you for sending an email to advise us, alert us,
Yes.
and for responding.
You're welcome.
So then I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that motion.
All right. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. We're adjourned.